Okay, so let's now look at this example genogram in a PDF format so it will pull it all up. So here at the beginning, she tells us about the patient she has interviewed. So she says Robert's the patient being interviewed. She gives a little background information. Now, you're going to see on this that, as I said, she's practically doubled um, the work, and really she didn't need to do that, but because his parents were divorced, she did one on his mother and then one on his father, and really all she needed to do was put all of this together on one page. Because this is Robert. He was a twin. Genograms are normally with males, they are squares, and females, they are circles. That's how it's depicted. If you want to think of this like a family tree, that's a good way to think of it. But you're going to do the patient's parents, and the patient's grandparents. So that's 3 generations. You can denote their siblings so you have an idea of how large of a family the patient has. Um, Divorces can be marked this way or this way. Usually, if someone has passed away or they're dead, they're X'd out or they're shaded in completely black. So you can see, just looking at this very quickly, this gives you an idea of Robert's family structure. Who's alive, who's doing well. I would have also, like, if I were looking at Robert here as a diabetic and there's others with diabetes through here, I would have denoted that they have diabetes maybe by putting a DM beside their name or something like that. But anyway, so you're just going to give the patient, the parents, and the grandparents, okay? The dates of birth, dates of death, if they've got any significant health problems. Then you can go through here and tell us a little bit about them. See, instead of denoting them up there in the genogram, she just listed it out here, okay, what their issues were. We realize that some of you all may not be Word document savvy, and we don't want you to spend an exorbitant amount of time trying to insert squares and circles and draw lines. So if you prefer, you may write this on a piece of paper and scan it in. However, it has to be legible for us to be able to read it and grade it. If not, then we cannot grade it and you will receive a 0. So make sure if you choose to write it out that you scan it in and it's very legible. Again, she kind of double did it instead of just putting it together. But she did it on 2 separate papers. Make sure that in the corner of your genogram that you have put a key. Just like I said to you that the males were denoted by squares and the females by circles, that really needed to be put over here in a key so that anyone opening this or looking at this would know without having to guess what they were looking at for all the symbols. So that's the genogram part. Here is the ecomap, and again, think about relationships, think about sources of coping, think about sources of stress, because in your mind, you are the nurse, you are working with this individual, this patient, to help them cope with their life issues, be it illness, mental health issues, whatever. So, ideally, and she did hers a little bit off, but this is Robert, this is R. And normally Robert would be by himself in a circle, but she included his parents because they were such strong influences for Robert and had so much impact on his life. So you've got the center circle with the patient, ideally, in the center circle. And then outside of that center circle, you've got the things that are going on in that patient's life, such as finances, extended family, friends, work, school, church. And you're going to put in here where the patient gets their strengths and support systems. And here is a key. So energy flow means the patient gives and takes from that relationship. So that's a good reciprocal relationship. If that connection with the patient and that outer bubble, outer circle is especially strong, then it would be 2 lines. Normally you would also see 1 line for just a form of connection. And then if there's a stressful issue here, you would see something like that. So looking at this, if my patient has a new diagnosis and I'm trying to help that patient cope with that new diagnosis, I am in my instruction to the patient and working with the patient, and I'm going to determine, based on my interviewing the patient and the conversation we have, that this patient feels especially connected to extended family and also as well to the parents. It's just not denoted that way. Also to church, also to friends. So when I talk to the patient and I counsel the patient about getting support systems, getting support or assistance with learning to live with this disease, I'm going to kind of push the patient toward those good sources of support and connection. Likewise, I'm also going to be aware that his work as an EMT here, although he finds it enjoyable and he gives to the relationship and it comes back to him, it's a rewarding career for him, it's extremely stressful. So depending upon his disease process, his mental status, I might need to counsel him about how much work he's doing or how much school. So that's what an ecomap is. And she's done a second one there as well. And then you do a care plan based upon what information you gather from the interview regarding disease states or mental health states. You give a diagnosis, you give a rationale for it, you prioritize them, you give goal statements, and you look at your interventions. And again, you're doing this for the family, including the patient, not just the patient himself or herself. So review this, look over this. If you've got questions, please let me know.